Okay, we're going to be analyzing the underperformance at Bodart Company using the Fortune Most Admired metric. We will then explore organizational culture and structure and propose a transformational change plan based on Cotter's 8-step model to foster sustainable growth. Bodart's a long-standing specialization in library supplies positions it as a trusted vendor in the public and academic library space. Since 1939, its focus on books, media, and furnishings has built deep relationships across the sector. However, understanding Bodart's market position is essential to contextualizing its recent underperformance. The company faces mounting challenges from agile startups, shifting customer expectations, and the need for innovation in both product offerings and service delivery. Internally, employee concerns about growth and communication signal organizational strain. Okay. Bodart's alignment with the Fortune Most Admired Company standards highlights both its strengths and its vulnerabilities. The company has long been recognized for the quality of its product and services, particularly in its shelf-ready books, trusted library supplies, which reinforce its reputation for reliability. However, Bodart falls short in areas such as innovation, talent management, and global competitiveness, where larger rivals like Ingram and Follett have advanced more aggressively. Its narrow market focus and slower adoption of digital solutions limit long-term investment value and financial resilience. To move closer to Fortune's admired standards, Bodart must modernize its technology, strengthen employee engagement, and expand its reach beyond traditional library markets. That way, it's ensuring it remains relevant in a rapidly evolving industry. On this slide, we'll be talking about Bodart. Gives a bit of a background on what it is. So it's a long-standing leader in library supplies, and it's facing, of course, as I mentioned earlier, mounting pressure to evolve amid shifting industry standards and competitive disruption. While its legacy in providing shelf-ready books and furnishings remains strong, the performance gaps in innovation, talent development, and digital transformation have begun to erode the profitability, the customer satisfaction, and long-term viability. New entrants and larger competitors are redefining expectations around speed, technology, service integration, where Bodart must accelerate response to remain relevant and admired. Bodart's current organizational structure requires realignment to support future growth and strategic relevance, while the company has maintained a stable hierarchy rooted in traditional library services. Evolving market demands and internal feedback reveal critical gaps in decision-making, effectiveness, and communication flow. The structure lacks the agility needed to respond to innovative pressures, employee concerns, of course, which in turn affects operational efficiency and morale to remain competitive. Conscious capitalism provides a framework for this transformation, emphasizing stakeholder value, ethical leadership, and long-term sustainability. For Bodart, this means moving beyond its traditional focus on books and furnishings to actively invest in employee development, transparent communication, and innovative digital services that meet the evolving needs of libraries. By aligning its operations with community impact and sustainability, Bodart can strengthen customer loyalty, improve employee engagement, and enhance its reputation in a market where values-driven performance increasingly defines success. In this slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the organizational behavior perspective that shifts with the theories of servant and transformational leadership. Managing people under a conscious capitalism framework fosters intrinsic motivation, creativity, and resilience. Managing organizations requires systems thinking, balancing budgets, policies, and culture with broader social impact. In times of change, such as a digital transformation or funding challenges, conscious capitalism provides a values-based approach to guide adaptation. Ultimately, conscious capitalism positions Bodart to thrive by aligning its operations with community purpose, stakeholder trust, and ethical leadership. This narrative demonstrates how managing people and organizations through a conscious capitalism can turn disruption into resilience and growth. Bodart's challenge, limited innovation, as mentioned earlier, employee concerns, and competitive pressures, make Kotter's 8-step change model a valuable framework for transformation. Step 1 is establishing a sense of urgency is critical, as Bodart must recognize the reliance on traditional library supplies without digital expansion threatens long-term viability. Step 2, forming a powerful guiding coalition requires engaging senior leadership and cross-functional teams to champion modernizing efforts. Step 3, developing a vision and strategy should focus on integrating digital services, sustainable practices, and employee empowerment. Through steps 4 and 5, communicating the vision and empowering broad-based action, Bodart can improve transparency, encourage innovation, and address employee concerns about growth and communication. Step 6, generating short-term wins through which could include launching pilot programs in digital cataloging or sustainable furniture sourcing to demonstrate progress. And step 7 and 8, consolidating gains and anchoring new approaches in the culture. Ensure that innovation, stakeholder orientation, and conscious leadership become embedded in Bodart's organizational identity. And by using this particular model, Bodart can move from incremental adjustments to a more of a comprehensive transformation aligned with Fortune's admired company standards of innovation, talent management, and social responsibility. This structured approach not only addresses current performance gaps, but also positions Bodart as a values-driven, competitive partner in the evolving library services market. Okay. Starting off with some research that was done by Eric Quinn and Fessel in the Journal of Applied Behavioral Science demonstrates that one individual can catalyze profound organizational change by shifting collective awareness and embedding purpose-driven practices into daily operations. This study underscores that conscious capitalism embodied through the authenticity and vision and moral courage can inspire employees to embrace new values and behaviors, ultimately transforming the organization from within. Applied to Bodart, this means that empowered leaders at all levels can drive adoption of innovation, inclusivity, and sustainability, ensuring that the company not only improves its performance, but also aligns with Fortune's admired standards of reputation and long-term viability. Okay, recent research done in Harvard Business Review by Tori Goldberg and Shrivastava underscored the importance of using analytics to measure cultural dynamics within organizations. Their work shows that culture can be quantified through patterns of communication, collaboration, and shared values, offering leaders actionable insights into how employees interact and adapt. And of course, applying this to the Bodart situation, these analytics can identify whether staff feel empowered, whether decision-making is transparent, and whether innovation is embraced across the workforce. By embedding these measures into the performance framework, Bodart ensures that staff outcomes are central to its transformation, creating a culture that supports both the organizational resilience and long-term success. Okay, Bodart's efforts to align its modern library standards face several barriers that can be understood through the Kotter's 8-step change model. The first barrier, of course, is creating urgency. Many employees may not fully recognize the risk of underperformance or the need for digital innovation, leading to complacency. Second barrier is forming a guiding coalition as siloed departments and limited cross-functional collaboration weaken leadership's ability to drive unified change. Seen this in my own business I work in. Developing a clear vision and strategy is also hindered by reliance on traditional products, making it difficult to articulate a compelling future direction. Communication gaps present another barrier as the company struggles to consistently communicate the vision and build trust across staff levels. Empowering employees to act is constrained by outdated processes and hierarchical decision making, which limit innovation, responsiveness, without visible short-term wins. And of course, skepticism can grow, undermining this momentum. Finally, Bodart risks failing to anchor new approaches in its culture, as long-standing norms and resistance to change may prevent innovation and stakeholder orientation from becoming embedded practices. Addressing these barriers requires leadership to actively engage staff, foster transparency, and demonstrate progress through tangible initiatives that build confidence in the transformation process. Okay, so at this point, we're addressing strategies to address and overcome challenges. So structural intervention and cultural transformation are critical for this to happen. For Bodart, barriers such as employee resistance, communication gaps, and reliance on traditional practices, which we mentioned earlier, can be addressed through clear leadership vision, active staff engagement, incremental wins that build confidence. Leaders must create urgency around the risk of underperformance while simultaneously fostering through trust, transparent communication, and inclusive decision-making, empowering employees to participate in innovation initiatives such as digital service pilots and sustainable projects, help reduce resistance by giving staff ownership of change process, embedding new practices into the cultural organization ensures that improvements are not temporary but become part of Bodart's long-term identity. Academic research supports these strategies. And these authors emphasize that revisiting Kotter's change model highlights the importance of communication, short-term wins, and cultural anchoring in order to overcome resistance and have sustainable transformation. The study in the Journal of Development shows that organizations succeed when leaders actively engage and manage both the technical and emotional dimensions of change, ensuring that employees must feel supported and aligned with their vision. And applying this to Bodart means overcoming the challenges about being less imposing directives and more cultivating a culture where staff are motivated partners in the company's renewal. And finally, as we wrap up, through the lens of conscious capitalism, Bodart's journey highlights several critical lessons. And of course, first is the higher purpose must guide the strategy. Bodart's mission to support libraries already embodies community service, but this purpose should be more explicitly tied to innovation, sustainability, and equity. Second, stakeholders integration is essential. Employees, customers, and communities must all see tangible benefits from Bodart's operations, whether through improved communication, fair compensation, or just a sustainable product offerings. And third, conscious leadership is pivotal. Leaders must model transparency, empathy, and courage, inspiring staff to embrace change rather than to resist it. Finally, conscious culture anchors transformation, embedding the values of collaboration, inclusivity, adaptability into daily practices, ensure that improvements are sustained over time. As mentioned in the Conscious Capitalism movement, underscores these principles in this talk on Conscious Capitalism Unpacked. And he argues that companies flourish when they liberate the heroic spirit of business by serving all stakeholders, not just shareholders. Applied to Bodart, it means shifting away from that whole transactional vendor mindset to a purpose-driven partner role, one that empowers staff, strengthens customer trust, and positions the company as a socially responsible leader in the library services market. So our last slide is dealing with conclusion. So basically, Bodart's assessment reveals that its long-standing reputation in library services must now be matched with a renewed commitment to innovation, employee engagement, and cultural transformation. And companies' underperformance underscores the need for structured change, where Kotter's 8-step model provides a roadmap to overcome barriers and embed new practices into the organizational fabric.